Stand by for broadcast.
You're listening to Inside Air, a behind-the-wire view of the Royal Air Force, its people, technology and operations.
Hi, I'm Flight Lieutenant Chris Solly and welcome to the latest RAF Inside Air podcast. In this episode, England and Wales may have left the sunshine of Qatar behind, but there's still British involvement with the 2022 World Cup as the Typhoons of the RAF's 12th Squadron work alongside their Qatari colleagues in the skies above the country.
And what's important is it's the Royal Air Force bringing its experience. It's good at this. We did it during the Olympics 2012, and together we will secure the games and keep them safe.
So for me personally, having deployed out here with the Royal Air Force, I feel quite proud that the skill set and experience that we have in this type of operation has been requested to be part of the security operation. It's also quite an honour to be able to contribute to the safety of roughly 1.2 to 1.3 million, they estimate, spectators that are visiting this tournament as well.
As usual, we'll also reheat a few stories which might have slipped under your radar, but first, see if you can identify what this noise is. Find out if you're right at the end of this episode. So, home nation involvement on the pitch may have come to an end on Saturday when England followed Wales to the departure gate at Doha Airport. But the UK still has a significant part to play in this year's World Cup. RAF Coningsby-based 12 Squadron are working alongside the host nation to help secure the skies above for the duration of the massive global event, as 7644 Squadron's correspondent found out when he visited Qatar.
This is Squad Leader Ronnie Barker, guest presenting this latest edition of Inside Air. I'm at Duckham Air Base, Qatar, where at 8 o'clock this morning it was balmy 28 degrees C. So I'm here as part of 12 Squadron's deployment, the joint RAF Qatari Typhoon Squadron that will support Qatar's air security operations during the 2022 FIFA World Cup, alongside the RAF Voyager and assets from other countries. The aim is to help ensure a safe and successful event for football fans from the UK and around the world. To that end, in this edition, we are talking World Cup.
Hi, my name's Simon Edwards. I'm an Assistant Chief of the Air Staff in the Royal Air Force, and I'm here in Qatar, visiting number 12 Squadron.
What is Project Thariyat?
Project Thariyat is the deployment of number 12 Squadron. 12 Squadron is the joint squadron between the Qatar Emiri Air Force and the Royal Air Force based in the UK, working together in Qatar to patrol the skies, to secure the skies and make sure we have a safe tournament. And what's important is it's the Royal Air Force bringing its experience. It's good at this. We did it during the Olympics 2012, and together we will secure the games and keep them safe.
Why is Defence providing support to Qatar for the World Cup 2022?
World Cup 22 and it being delivered safely matters to everybody. And there's no partnership closer than the Qatar Emiri Air Force and the Royal Air Force to bring the best of both teams together and ensure that we are delivering a safe games.
This is Squad Leader Barker for Inside Air. This week, I'm still here in Qatar with Wing Commander Chris Wright, Officer Commanding 12 Squadron.
Thariyat is the end of the first stage of the Joint Squadron, and it's really all about supporting the Qatar Emiri Air Force in establishing their Typhoon here in country, and follows on from the last 2.5 to 3 years' work done back in the UK at RAF Coningsby.
Why is it called Project Thariyat?
So Thariyat is actually a term that comes from the Quran. It loosely translates as a holy wind, and therefore like a typhoon, as in the aircraft that we're operating. It is also the call sign of the Typhoon wing here in Qatar. So Thariyat is really a continuation of all the work that we've done over the last 3 years or so back in the UK that has seen Qatar Air Force pilots, engineering officers and technicians and other support staff operate as part of 12 Squadron in the UK. This is then sees them taking their first steps in their own country and then establishing their own wing. And as we redeploy back to the UK at the end, our aim and our mission is to leave a fully functioning Qatar Typhoon wing.
What is the Qatari's air capability like?
It's here already. So what was great is that when we arrived a few weeks ago here in Qatar, We were parked right next to the first batch of Qatari Typhoons, and the team here, who we've trained over the last few years, were already proudly flying the next day, and we're already well into their operations. So it's been a very proud moment for everybody on 12 Squadron, and we are going to continue to see their capability grow, supported by us in every way that we can over the next few months. So the Joint Squadron is just one of several UK force elements who've deployed here into Qatar to help provide security for what we all hope will be a safe, successful and enjoyable event. Our specific role is to provide armed air security, and that is all about counter-terrorism and really us building on and delivering the experience that we gained particularly in London in 2012 in securing the Olympics.
So you're in a very unique position. You are a fast jet fighter pilot. We've all seen Top Gun with Maverick. Can you just tell us the thoughts, the feelings that you go through when you walk into your jet, you're strapping in and you're about to go flying?
Well, it is a phenomenal privilege and a real rush, frankly. I've been doing this for a few years now, and that sense of slight trepidation but anticipation and excitement that comes with every sortie never really leaves you. I've flown previous aircraft, but nothing really is up there like the Typhoon. The experience of flying the Typhoon is all-encompassing. It's a real sort of journey of emotions. As you brief the mission, you tend to be very focused, and then there's that sort of moment where we're dressing, getting into kit and getting out to the aeroplane, and everything is against the clock. But there's always a moment where you sit there in the aircraft, strapping in, and there's usually a few seconds of kind of consideration and contemplation ahead of spinning up the APU and the engines, and then after that you're really just into the ride. It delivers every time. It's a total sensory journey and experience that is breathtaking, and it never leaves you really, and it keeps us coming back. So this whole journey has been an immense privilege for me as Officer Commanding 12 Squadron. The squadron has a very long history of firsts, whether it's flying the first types of aircraft introduced into Royal Air Force service, the first Victoria Crosses of the Second World War, and this is yet another first that's notched up for this squadron that has led the field from its first day.
With me is Sergeant Duke, a survival equipment technician who's going to go through the contents of the pockets on the G-suits that pilots will carry and hopefully never need to use. So, Sergeant, what have we actually got in these pockets here?
So the Typhoon flight jacket is designed for worst case scenario. So that's ejecting, becoming unconscious and landing over water. So first of all, we've got the stole. So inside the flight jacket on around the neck is the stole. So it's a life preserver, and it's designed to automatically inflate should they hit the water. Inside the pockets, there's various survival aids from flares to personal locator beacons to heliographs, everything designed to attract attention should they need to be found. Likewise, there is other survival aids available contained within the seat, which is fitted classed as a personal survival pack. In addition, the flight jacket is full coverage G protection it provides, or anti-G protection it provides, so it inflates along with the trousers to protect the pilot and keep the blood around the vital organs when they're sustaining up to plus 9G within the Typhoon.
Thank you. So we're out here in the desert. Do you change the contents for the different environments the pilots will be flying in?
So we don't on an AEA, so aircrew equipment assemblies, we don't for the flight jackets, but the personal survival pack, which is contained within the seat, changes to geographical environmental scales. So out here in the desert at the moment, we've got fitted desert PSPs, so they're conducted back home RAF Coningsby from the main bay, and then fitted by the armourers on 12 Squadron to satisfy the deployment.
It looks a fairly weighty bit of kit. So on top of the full flying suit, the flame retardant underwear, and all the other paraphernalia that pilots carry, how much does this weigh?
So I don't know the specific all-up weight, but it's pretty bulky altogether. I'd probably estimate around 10 kilos with the boots on as well. So it's a full weight. So obviously, if we're pulling G-force, so the pilots say up to plus 9, that's going to feel probably 90 kilos all in, so it's going to be heavy for their body strains.
So, Duke, can you just talk us through the helmet itself, please? Because it looks fairly impressive compared to the last sort of generation of flying helmets that we've all seen.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. So Typhoon pilots are quite bespoke in the fact that they have 3 helmets selected to them. So they've got the Mark IV night-capable helmet. They've got a Mark 10, either Charlie or Romeo, which is their kind of day-flying helmet. And then this here that I've got with me is the helmet-mounted symbology system. So this is the game changer really for the Typhoon pilots. It allows them to kind of look out to the left and right. It gives them everything that they normally see on the HUD, so weapons queuing, altitude, height, speed, etc., and really makes a difference when they're kind of dogfighting. So it's really good. It's sort of measured bespokely, laser scanned to the head, fitted either at Coningsby or Lossiemouth by the survival equipment technicians. And then, operated out here. So it takes a little bit longer for us to look after. There's a lot more items to check for, but it really is game changer. So should there be any issues or the pilots lose it, they're absolutely keen to get it back online as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm Flight Lieutenant Patrick. I'm one of the engineering officers on 12 Squadron. My role on 12 Squadron is one of the engineering officers. Really, as an engineering officer, we have 2 main functions. First one is a flight commander. I'm one of the shift leaders. We have 2 shifts here. I've got about 30 or 40 guys working for me. The other responsibility is the airworthiness side of things, which is for making of airworthiness-based decisions to determine whether or not the aircraft should fly or not, or is safe to fly. In terms of our wider team, my shift has been primarily seeing the aircraft in from their operational sorties. And then our role is to rectify any faults that they come back with and get them ready for operational flying the following day.
What's it been like working out here in the heat of Qatar?
Coping with the heat that you typically find in Qatar initially was quite a significant challenge when we arrived back in late September, early October. The heat was quite a focus for us at that point. As we've gone into the winter months, it's got a lot cooler, and obviously with the operational phase, and you'll notice that the football matches are late in the evening. With all of that taken into account, the risk of heat illness is significantly reduced. But certainly early on when we got here, water supplies, work-rest ratios during the day was certainly a very keen focus that we were working on throughout the training phase as we led up to the operation.
Talk me through a typical working day for your team.
So the work shift patterns here, certainly in the operational phase, has been roughly 12 to 13 hour shifts. We've been working 24 hours around the clock of 2 shifts. We've done that for 17 days now, which covered the group stages and the last 16 round of the World Cup. And obviously, there's now a 2-day pause during that, so we're in that as I talk to you today. My shift have done nights for those 17 days, and we're going into day shifts from here on. Leading up to the operation, shifts weren't too bad. We were still doing days and night shifts, 1 week on, 1 week off, but the hours were reduced.
When you're not working, is there much to do here in Qatar?
So life outside of working days has certainly been in two phases really. I personally went to the souk market, which is a fantastic bit of culture there. Really amazing. Sells everything from silks to pets. It's a really interesting place. But likewise, a lot of the guys out here as well have been to the same places. There's mangroves, there's beaches to go and visit. There's a castle in the north of Qatar as well. There's loads of different places to go.
Have you managed to see any of the matches at the stadiums?
So I personally haven't been to any of the football matches, but a lot of my team have. They've been to primarily focusing on the England and Wales matches, but also it's not been exclusive to those either. There's been plenty of opportunity to get to football matches. So when we're not working, there's quite a few opportunities to watch the games. Certainly when the guys are off just finished a job at work in our T-bar, we've got all the football matches on live there, so that when you're just walking past from a job, you can see what the score is of the latest match. But outside of the workplace, we've also got TV that's got the matches on here in the accommodation as well.
What does it mean to you to be representing the Royal Air Force at such a huge global event?
So for me personally, having deployed out here with the Royal Air Force, I feel quite proud that the skill set and experience that we have in this type of operation has been requested to be part of this security operation, particularly as it's the first event of its kind in this region, this part of the world. It's also quite an honour to be able to contribute to the safety of roughly 1.2 to 1.3 million, they estimate, spectators that are visiting this tournament as well. So yeah, pretty good.
What are the key highlights or memories of your time in Qatar?
So I've got quite a few memories, having only deployed out here for a couple of months, quite a few that really stick in my mind from this deployment. One of which is the skyline of Doha at night. Seeing the footballers printed on the skyscrapers in enormous banners illuminated on the skyline, it's absolutely fantastic to see. I'll never forget that. But also there was the Doha pre-World Cup fly past as well. Seeing the Royal Air Force aerobatics team Red Arrows on the flight line here with both Qatari and British Typhoons, but perhaps more significantly with the Royal Saudi Air Force's display team as well at Duqm. So for me, those are the two big memories for me.
And finally, what's it been like working with our Qatari colleagues?
So working with the Qataris out in Duqm, there's really been no change for us. We've been working with the Qataris as a joint squadron for several years now, myself personally for nearly a year. As always, they've always been very forthcoming with their support. I think that support's been very much mutually beneficial. There's really been a willingness from them to absorb as much information and experience from us as possible. I think we're very conscious that a 6-month deployment as a joint squadron and us operating in the same location as them, as they're going to operate their wider Typhoon force from, is only a good thing.
I'm AS1 Victoria Andrews with Reheat for Inside Air. The Royal Air Force has been named as the top 75 employer for social mobility. It's the first time the RAF has placed in the top 75 and recognises the work undertaken to attract and improve socio-economic diversity within the service. 617 Squadron F-35s have returned to RAF Marham, having participated in Operation Achillean. Their deployment to HMS Queen Elizabeth culminated with a joint expeditionary force air operations activity with Norwegian F-35As. The Norwegians were simulating air attacks against the carrier strike group, while the 617 Squadron jets defended. The carrier deployment element of Operation Achillean was designed as a proof of concept deployment to demonstrate NATO's 5th generation maritime strike capability. Air Force cyber warriors joined their US, Australian and Canadian counterparts on Exercise Virtual Flag in New Mexico. The programme is designed to test frontline fighters' ability to operate in any domain. Squadron Leader Orrin said how the synthetic battle space allows for excellent instructional supervision and feedback, whilst offering a safe environment to develop and test novel tactics. He added that the breadth of coalition experience and involvement makes the exercise a truly unique opportunity that continues to prepare our warfighters of the future. And finally, a look at sport from across the service. The RAF Orienteering Championships have taken place at Wendover Woods and featured a variety of course complexities and lengths. The first UK Armed Forces Military Skate Jam competition has seen skateboarding enter service sport for the first time. The RAF took 2 of the 4 competitions. And lastly to basketball, which has made a return with RAF Cosford hosting the first interstation tournament in 10 years. A mix of novice and experienced took to the courts. That's Reheat for Inside Air.
I'm AS1 Simon Ross with this episode's Name That Noise.
That was the sound of a Thornycroft Mark 9 vintage RAF fire engine. RAF firefighting began as early as the RAF itself. In 1918, fires at Shotwick and Turnhill compelled the Air Ministry to order a number of firefighting vehicles. Then in 1919, the fire of an aircraft in its hangar was fought only by portable extinguishers. It was concluded that the RAF would have a fire vehicle at every permanent RAF station. Fighting fires in aircraft was a new concept and required different methods from conventional firefighting. Then aircraft became larger with increased fuel loads, and the introduction of jet aircraft brought on even more challenges. To this day, RAF firefighters maintain immediate readiness. They are highly trained in the use of specialised vehicles and equipment, providing effective rescue, and they're usually pretty handy at volleyball too.
That's all for this episode of Inside Air. Please give us a review, subscribe on your favourite podcast app, and join us again soon.
You've been listening to Inside Air. a behind-the-wire view of the Royal Air Force, its people, technology and operations. If you're serving in the RAF and have a story for us, please speak to your unit media and communications officer. Inside Air is written and produced for the Royal Air Force by RAF Media Reserves.